Best greetings from Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine. My name is Victor Fursov, and this is the channel Victor Fursov, Entomologist, Beekeeper Ukraine. And today, November 6, 2016, I'm visiting a very interesting place. This is a apiary of Ukrainian Beekeeper Vasyl Priyatelenko. We're collaborating with him for a long time, and I'm showing at my channel his beehives and his technology of effective beekeeping. And today this is opportunity to show you the construction of beehives and new modifications, and of course to describe a little bit more about the construction of beehive of Vasyl Priyatelenko. Because you know beehives, you would say that this is a very common invention, still the time on Langstroth, who invented beehive to the public all around the world. But I will tell you there are a lot of space to improve the construction of beehive for honeybees. And by the way, of course, you know probably that Ukrainian territory and the territory of Ukraine, very special. People here keeping beehives for centuries. And by the already 2 or 3 centuries and more ago, people were keeping beehives. And actually, the beehive of Ukrainian beekeeper Prokopovich is very famous because there is kind of discussion, but he invented firstly beehive. This is the book, first volume of proceedings, papers of Petro Prokopovich, which were published under the edition of devoted Ukrainian editors who collected all papers of Petro Prokopovich and published this book, and also 2 others. So 3 volumes of books of papers of Petro Prokopovich, who invented first framed beehive for honeybees. Yes, because at the ancient time people were keeping honeybees in logs, so very simple nests. But after invention of beehive, the beekeeping technology became very efficient and effective. But still, there are special space and interesting places to improve beehive. For instance, Vasyl Priyatelenko, Ukrainian beekeeper, already published several books like this one about effective beekeeping technology and the construction of modified 3-story beehive with unique frames based on wild honeybee nests in hollow trees. So he has several papers already published in Ukrainian language and in English language. I also cooperated in these publications. We published several papers together in cooperation, and also presented these papers during several international meetings like APIMONDIA in Kiev 2013, APIMONDIA 2016 in South Korea, APISLAVIA 2015 in Turkish Republic. So this innovation already well known, but still I guess a little bit known, because you know beekeepers were very special men or women, so because they like just decent technology, they like stable technology. It's very difficult to make something innovative. But by the way, a new innovative technology of floating honey with plastic frames became now very popular, and people enjoy it very much. So that's why I think if I will show you frames and these honeybee beehives, you will decide, is it interesting or is it effective? But our knowledge, our experience already showed that this type of beehive is very efficient, very effective. And why, I will explain you in this video. This is a little bit long introduction, but it was very important to tell you about history, how this beehive came to this place. And by the way, I'm sitting here in this very special place, this pavilion with beehives. Here 3 beehives, here 3 beehives, and this is a small place with a sleeping area for sleeping here between beehives. But I will tell you about construction of this beehive, which was invented by Vasyl Priyatelenko. But of course he didn't invent the idea of beehive, but he changed many things inside beehive. This is like construction of car. You know, with the kind of Volkswagen, Mercedes, or just Audi, or maybe just Honda or Hyundai. All of them very similar, but all of them very, very different. So what is inside beehive? This is very important. What is about engine inside? What will produce you honey, and what will produce honeybee colony in all of the brood inside beehive? This is very important, because this is the miracle, how to construct the nest, how to improve the brood and honeybee colony inside this box. This is a miracle, and for that we need for sure to use a different type of frames. Right. You know, the major invention which is accepted by all these generations of beekeepers, this is, yes, frame. And what about frame? You know that frame is considered of end frame or end bar, bottom bar and end bars. So these four different parts, and between them this is a foundation. But you know, that sometimes in many cases, in a common situation, beekeepers they use frames, okay, embedded with these wires inside. This is very common, but here this is a top bar. Top bar usually you know, wooden, but first invention of Vasyl Priyatelenko to change top bar. And if you can recognize here on this video, or you can check it on my other videos and in presentation, that you see this is very narrow top bar. And why this is narrow? Because we use here a metallic N-shaped metallic top bar. Yes, metallic top bar, and very narrow, only 7 millimeters profile, 7 millimeters, and like a letter N, and N-shaped, right? And it's very useful because it's making the frame very stable, and also it's making very special conjunction between frames. Why we need conjunction? This is the second invention. So first of all, as I said, very special frame with metallic top bar, right? This is first part. And of course I need to show you everything from beginning. You can recognize here, because here this is wide angle. So this is beehive with two powers, so 2 stories beehives. First, second, and here basement. In the basement is open, so basement is useful to clean beehives. Actually, the beginning of all this construction is starting from this this story. This is a brood part of beehive, right? Brood part, because at the beginning, if you have a small colony, you will make it in this small part, which is put on the basement. Without this part, this is construction already for overwintering. For beginning, we need only to use this brood part with this construction of these frames, right? Also, of course, with this metallic top bar. Yes, here there are 12 these frames, 12 frames. What is important here? You can recognize that this is narrow, deep frame. Yes, this is very important. And also this is construction very useful for overwintering of bees, especially in a cold area, in a cool area like Ukraine, or maybe northern parts of United States, or of course in Canada, because honeybees, they need to overwinter in a very special, very cold winter. Well, that's why if a honeybee colony will be concentrating on these frames, they need to use food slowly going down from the upper part of the nest till the down. And of course they will use all this honey on these frames, on these combs. That's why deep construction of frame is very important, to use all food all together and to survive during the difficult winter, right? But second part we must add to the first part, the second story, for winter time. Why? Because still it's not enough to use only this combs with honey. If you add some combs here with honey, it's much better for overwintering for beehives colony during winter. And actually they will make the nest all together with all these two stories all together. So for overwintering we need to use here, well, 12 frames, and here 8 frames. But you know, this is the third invention here. The third invention and third modification is very important here. That positioning of these frames is very special. Positioning in down story like that, and an upper story like that. So the crossing positioning of all these frames, crossing positioning like that, crossing positioning like that, you can recognize they are not making positioning like this in a parallel positioning. No, they must be in crossing positioning. 12 here in upper story and 8 frames in down story. This is very important, very important. But the fourth invention is here also very, very special, because all these frames, they are interconnected all together. What meaning interconnected? You know that one story is usually separated from another story, and here this is a special B space or space between stories, and the space between stories usually 20 millimeters or 30 millimeters. And for honeybees it's very difficult sometimes to go from one story to another. They cannot separate that very stale space down there or up there. But if we use this type of frame and this type of frame, we are connecting them all together and putting them all together on the top. First, upper frame must be on the top and must be connected in a special points here, here, here. In 12 points will be connected here directly. Upper story and down story will be interconnected in 8 points. Why it is very important? Without honeybee space, without bee space between stories, this is very surprising but very important, because if all frames were interconnected, so honeybees can move from this comb and then can go down comb, right? And they don't have here space between, so we're not surprised there is no space here. Yeah, they go slowly and they making here connections with the wax and propolis all together. So that's why for them it's easy to go down, and construction is going to be united. So this is all two stories will be as united, all united nest, all brood nest. Well, so you can recognize. So these two parts are very important for overwintering. But the next part, how to explain the production of this nest. The production will start from the springtime, definitely. After overwintering, you need to check the construction of nest. You don't need to reconstruct it. You don't need to dismount it. Only what you need. Only what you need. You see, you have here down part, first story. You have here upper part with deep frames, shallow with narrow deep frames. Well, and in morning, or not in morning, but in springtime, in the summertime, when harvesting time is going to be, you will put here super with these frames, with a new foundation, without not brown foundation but fresh new foundation, and honeybees will be honey and will be harvesting here in these frames. And you can see again here you will must have here intercrossing positioning of frames like that, intercrossing, and again you put here next story, and these stories they interconnected all together in some parts without bee space. between stories. This is very important. So honeybee is going up, going to find these combs, and will fill it with nectar, and we will produce here honey. Will fermentate it, and we will produce honey here step by step. So you can see, and so you can recognize that we have 8 frames down part, down story, 12 frames here, and again and 8 frames on the top. So altogether 16 plus 12, 20, 28 frames altogether. That's why this will be 3 stories, 3 stories beehives mounted for collecting, for harvesting honey. But by the way, so that's why I show you this is construction of beehive. Yes, our video is able to show you how it's constructed. So this is a beehive from a down, or either from the super. They are similar, they are the same. They're the same. So these are frames after harvesting, already after collecting honey. So they're clean. So they can be reused for second use in the next season. So here we use 8 frames for super or for the first basement part of frame. But also Vasyl Priyatelenko made some innovations, and he changed his first construction and he improved it a little. Why? Because it was found that if you have a great harvesting of honey, or you have good food for beehive, for honeybees, that's easy to produce so many honey for this huge beehive. But sometimes very useful to have more compact beehives. That's why he constructed this more compact beehive, which is smaller. This is smaller, but you can recognize that in smaller beehive he used 8 frames for each story. For that he used basement, brood nest, and super with the same 8 frames. Alright, so you see 8 frames in each story, and this frame is smaller, 265 millimeters. This is quadrate for each story. That's why he used down story 8 frames again, and 8 frames more. So altogether 24 small frames like that. And again, these frames you can recognize they have this is metallic top bar, and again in each of stories they have crossing interconnection, because basement like that, the next will be like that, in this positioning, this position, and this and this. Oh, by the to be correct, well, this one. In the second part, it must be here. Basement will be with 8 frames, small size, then 8 frames this size, not 12, but 8 frames, narrow deep frames again. This is a brood part, narrow deep, like this. Again, also 8 frames, and on the top will be again 8 frames. Altogether will be 24 frames, but different size with this small size and this normal size. Again, this is very important, because these small frames will be used for development of brood, or in a super for collecting of honey, and this narrow deep frames will be used for development of brood in the central part of the nest. This is very important. So I showed it on some video, and it's very important to show you that this modification is also very useful, because and it's easy to reconstruct it to use for different standards, for different conditions in different countries, because, for example, this small construction of beehive is easy for overwintering as well, because we recognize that brood and the old colony will be united here in this small nest, in small beehive, because it's a beehive a little bit bigger, for it will be still some humidity inside beehive. If we have this compact construction, humidity will be less, and it's much easier for surviving, for overwintering of honeybees during winter. That is very important in Ukraine and other cold countries. So that's a short story about construction of beehive. Did you recognize that we have first story with 8 frames, then again 8 stories with next 8 frames, and then again, well, a little difficult to show you because here, like this, 8 frames, and here again 8 frames, altogether 28 frames in cross positioning, and no bee space between frames, and also very special and shaped metallic top bar. This is very special invention. If you do not believe it, check our presentations in international meetings and check our pictures on this presentation, how it is constructed. But by the way, for 8 years of our experience with honeybees, with development of from 40 till 60 bee colonies, it was proved that efficiency of honeybees in this construction is much better, that health is much better, and also the spending of time for taking care for these honeybees much less, which is very important. Usually you don't need to use so much time for taking care for your honeybee colony every day. No, spending of time much less. So this construction is much easier to use, very convenient, very suitable. If you are interested in details, write your comments, ask your questions, and subscribe to my channel. So please subscribe to my channel and write your comments. It's very important for me to know your opinion, your ideas, and your questions. But if you are interested to make kind of orders, or you want to buy these beehives, you can also write in comments or send me private message how much you are interested in this contract, how many non-bee colonies by beehives you want to order. Vasyl Priyatelenko is ready to sell you abroad, outside of Ukraine, from 5 beehives till maybe 20 or 50 beehives in one container altogether. So he's ready to produce you sufficient amount of beehives and to supply it by post mail to you, to your country outside of Ukraine. Bee order is much easier and more efficient to send it. It's cheaper in post mail, and it will be more efficient for you to have it united all apiary with the same construction. And efficiency we will show you in next video again and again, because it needs to show always several times the efficiency of beehives, the construction of beehives, and you can check several our videos to prove what all this description is true, and it's really efficient, effective, and working well. So thank you for watching, subscribe to my channel, and looking forward to see you as subscriber and also as customer of Vasyl Priyatelenko. He will enjoy to supply you this type of Ukrainian beehives. See you soon on my channel. Good luck. Bye bye. Best greetings from Ukraine.